Good day once more. This is Shannon Scott, your taphophile, your storyist. And it's funny where the wanderlusting roads, the spirit of the taphophile will guide you. So just driving across the Georgia countryside on the way to see another cemetery. Yeah, a little cemetery on the hilltop under white puffy clouds. Pretty little white chapel caught my eye. And just, driving through as I do, looking for some interesting headstones, something catches the eye. I happened to see some ironwork that reminded me of a gate, maybe in Savannah, Georgia. And lo and behold, the name Williams appeared. And talk about, Bonaventure's story coming full circle. This is the family plot of the Williams family from Gordon, Georgia. And of course, the controversial, famous preservationist, James Arthur Williams belongs to this plot now. People ask me that all the time, where is Jim Williams from Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil buried? And he is not buried in Savannah, although there is a persisting rumor that he had a plot in Bonaventure and he sold it, or his mother, Blanche, who is buried here as well, sold it. And she brought her son home to Gordon, Georgia, which is a very peaceful place. And we're not really here to delve into the whole of that story, because it's one of those things that it's kind of mixed feeling for all the obvious. And, it's also a story of a family too, or a couple of families who lost some people. But Jim Williams was one of the fathers of historic preservation. I mean, no matter, I kind of tell people he was a Renaissance man with a bit of a dark side. And, that's probably being polite, but complex, a lot of layers, very ambitious. He definitely had his own kind of gunslinger way to go about things. Sorry, that sounds like a bad pun, but I mean to say that, he was really kind of a guy that didn't mind doing some hard work. And I think he felt that there was just a different path to be had with preservation in Savannah, Georgia. So by the time he died at 60 years of age, at 60, he died at 60 years of age. He restored 60 houses in Savannah, Georgia, or around the area. I mean, that's pretty impressive. And so, that's a nod that is forever owed to the gentleman, the man, the ambitious Jim Williams. And much like the book tells us, he came from the son of a barber and a maid. And, I don't know the whole family story, but that's how it's kind of laid out. So yeah, simple beginnings. And he came to Savannah basically in 1961 and, rose to great heights and was often, featured in major architectural magazines and furniture ones. And I'm sure, some preservation journals or things like that. But along the path, he met a young man named Danny Hansford. And Danny Hansford is also buried in the Greenwich edition of Bonaventure Cemetery. And after years of a relationship, both as employee and also, we'll just say, boyfriend, Jim Williams, in a heated argument, May 2nd, 1981, inside of the Mercer House, some say a struggle ensued, but either way, Danny ended up dead, shot in the house. And, the plea was basically self-defense. But over the next 7 years, and this is what caught the public attention originally, was the legal side of things. Jim was the only man in the history of the state who would end up being tried 4 times for the same crime. He was facing, some say, the electric chair for 7 years. And he was acquitted in Augusta, Georgia on the technicality called double jeopardy. But, dwindling health, dwindling finances, just, 7 years of doing that. He died at 60 years of age, 6 months later, basically, in the upstairs bedroom of the Mercer House. And the rest is book and movie history. Random House printed that book in 1993. It became, some say, the New York Times bestseller of all time, #1 for 2 years straight, top 10 for 4. Printed in 127 languages. That is crazy for any book of any topic. But the Clint Eastwood film version, which I think tried to doctor up too much to make it saleable or palatable to the public, of 1996, I think that ended up turning it into a flop, although there are some merits to the film. But You know, it became a strange phenomenon for the town of Savannah, which was already on the tourism rise, but with it shattering all of those records, the tourists came, and Bonaventure was suddenly a growing international name again because of a murder trial. And so that's what I mean when I say mixed feelings. You know, it's obviously about good and evil, and it's about murder. It's about many things, actually. Some we won't really get into, but ultimately it becomes the phenomenon, you know, that just takes the tide of tourism to another level. And Jack Leigh, who took the amazing bird girl photo in 1993 for the book anyway, you know, the bird girl statue stood in Bonaventure for a long time, now downtown in the Telfair Museum. But it was such an iconic photo. You know, even if the book had any weaknesses, the photo just sold it, man. And, you know, 127 languages later, you know, I get calls from all over the world. I find that Canadians really love the book still now, like it's still happening. But really, it's like all of this stuff is just blended into the other great stuff about Savannah, Georgia now. It's almost like the negative of anything brought really positive attention to all of the other great stuff. So we'll leave it at that, because I think that's, you know, the truth, and it's fair too. But, you know, in the end, they opened up Jim Williams' fantastic Mercer House of Monterey Square, and, you know, it's still full of many things that he collected. So I tell people it's worth the ticket price, because you can see this man's collection on display in pieces. So it's not just like a museum house with some, you know, thrown together, you know, antique pieces to make it look like the lived-in place. This is actually where the character, if you'd like, Jim Williams lived, and, you know, of course, where the crime happened and all the rest. But yeah, he was acquitted. So there you go. That's the technical difference. But yeah, I just thought it was ironic. On my way through the countryside here in Georgia, I came across the grave of the Williams family and James Arthur Williams. On a side note, I did meet Jim Williams in the basement tavern of the Pink House. I don't remember if he was still proprietor then, but he had been one of the owners involved in the Pink House restaurant, and he hung out in the tavern now and again. But the character in the book, called Barry Thomas, who was my dear friend that tragically died of AIDS at 40 years of age, he was from Scotland, and he is described in the book as giving Jackie O the tour, and I think finding Jim Williams deceased in the house. That's kind of how Barry is noted lightly through the book. But he and I were good friends, really good friends, and he introduced me to Jim and some of these other characters. So yeah, I can say that I actually knew the man and all the rest. But we'll take a quick look at Jim's grave. So there we see it. It's pretty bright out, so I'm not really seeing exactly everything that I probably would like to see. But James Arthur Williams, December 11, 1930, January 14, 1990. And I'm one of those people that really believes that no matter what goes on in life, choices that are made, I really do wish everybody a peaceful rest and a peaceful journey. So yeah, that's hard for some people to accept, I think. But ultimately, yeah, I wish Jim Williams nothing but peace. I hope he is resting peacefully. And but gang, thanks for watching. I just wanted to share this kind of random moment from the world of a taphophile. It happens. What can I tell you? So please check out my YouTube channel, Grave Talks with Shannon Scott. Really trying to add a lot of educational, interesting things about all this and more on the channel. So we thank you for watching. I'll story you guys real soon, and just really lots of blessings out there to you on your Sunday.